What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Yeah, I know I've had a lot of lives today, but it is what it is. This is part of the effort of getting some great content out there to you all. And I enjoy this. This is fun for me. So, before we start on the watch party from Philly Busted, shout out to them. The description, the link to the video for Filibuster is in the chat. I wanted to kick this off with this video here from Twins Hangout Kenya. Twins Hangout Kenya. So they did a video about 3 weeks ago, and basically I gave them a thumb up. They have 132,000 supporters. Fantastic. But they did a video on Black Americans' hilarious reaction to Candace Owens' tribute to Charlie Kirk. Now, I've seen most of it, but I'm showing this because you have so many people that feel the way I feel on Candace Owens coming off like she's a scorned lover. It's like she's giving off, I wish I was the wife type vibes. And so many others feel the same way. I wish they would gauge, the thoughts of Americans in general, but they did Black Americans. So, it's their channel, it's their content. But it goes beyond that. It's not only Black Americans that feel this way. You have so many people across the spectrum, men and women, regardless of race, that feel that Candace Owens is acting like a jealous girlfriend. And she's hogging the spotlight away from the actual grieving widow of Charlie Kirk. And her conspiracy theories and all this nonsense, my brother Jay Wick calls it Candaspiracies. It seems to be overshadowing the fact that he passed. And I thought I heard it all until, of course, once again, she's doubling down on this insinuation that the United States Armed Forces, the military, has something to do with Charlie Kirk's death. I can't. No evidence to prove it. Nothing to substantiate that. Just, United States military, they got something to do with it. And what she wants to do is, it's like she sound bites it. And then she wants to see who responds and what they say. And then she feeds off of that. So leave her in suspense when it comes to the U.S. military. If she can't even give a branch, she's insinuating the United States military is involved in a civilian's death that we all witnessed. Y'all, it gets crazy. So we got to start this off a little lighthearted. Twins Hangout did a fantastic video on this. What's going on, Bernard's Expressions? Shout out to you. What's going on, LLC? Manny, my fantastic mod, my brother. You've been hanging out with me all day, man. We've done what? This is our third live now. Oh my God. I appreciate you so much. You have no idea how much I support you, and thank you so much. And Candace is something else. Candace is something else. Shout out to my mom. Shout out to all of you all. I just did a post, you guys. We're at 28,010 supporters. Let's get those numbers up. Let's get those likes up. Keep these videos in the algorithm, because I'm not alone when I say that Candace is losing her mind or has lost it. Something's happened. And acting like someone who was more so in love with Charlie Kirk, and just, he didn't want to marry her, and it is what it is. He got Erica Kirk, and now she acts like Erica Kirk don't even exist. But Erica Kirk is the only other person aside from her husband that can tell her to shut up. Erica Kirk, can you please tell Candace Owens to shut up so we can see how that goes? Candace Owens, a Black girl who somehow became the spokesperson for everything your ancestors warned you about. Y'all, Oh, man, that's funny as hell. What's going on, Francisca? Good to have you with me again. I appreciate you. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Um, Manny said, I don't hate Candace, but I gotta be honest. Every time she talks, I feel like she arguing with the ancestors in real time. You up in heaven, like, wait, she what now? Yeah. It's you're always blown away by the things she says. So you guys make sure you subscribe, share the content, share the videos, post it on your Facebook because I don't have it, Instagram, X, whatever. And hit the like button as you come in, engage in the chat. Everybody speak to everybody. I appreciate you all. That's going to be our evening stream. And I'm glad I, was able to get started on time. It's not going to be long because I have to get up and go to work in the morning. And that's a whole nother thing. You know what, Manny, I'm going to tell you something. The way you feel about Candace, the way I feel about working for certain Black women. As a Black woman, I can honestly say it is hard for me to except for the manager I have right now, my direct manager, who's fantastic and awesome. She's absolutely fantastic. She's a true leader. She's a sweetheart. And just being a human being sometimes is all it takes. Having some level of empathy or compassion, being understanding. Those are the marks and the trait, the characteristics and the traits of a true leader. And I thank God that's what I have right now with my direct manager. It's the others around her, the others above her that are just unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, y'all pray I hit the lottery or something go viral somehow. Woo child, that job. ... All right. We bless God for a job. I really do. But man, I don't want the headache that comes with it. Oh my God. Candace got that vibe like she woke up one morning, looked at her hair, looked at her wallet, and said, I know exactly who to anger today. I can see why Erica didn't want to be seen with the bunny boy on the sidekick. Exactly. Oh man, that reminds me of that movie. Oh yeah. That lady, oh God. Glenn Close had that bunny rabbit boiling in that pot. Was that Fatal Attraction? Yeah, Candace is giving off Fatal Attraction vibes right now. Candace, you sound like a scorned, crazy Fatal Attraction type of person that's simmering a rabbit in the pot. I just don't even know what to make of this. And won't even bother to talk to the wife. Why don't you have Erica Kirk on your show? I mean, it's crazy. So, yeah, hit that like button. Let's get started. I want to show this video because it's what we all thinking. And Twins Hangout Kenya was able to get a compilation of some TikTok videos and stuff like that, and they put it into this. So put a one in the chat if you can see it here. Let's get to it.
Owens is grieving in the way that I thought that Charlie Kirk's wife would grieve.
You start bickering like an old married couple. Charlie, this is not how you pack a suitcase, I say to him. Charlie, you can't just put your dirty running shoes on top of your clean shirts, okay? You just can't do that. Charlie, you need to eat something, okay? You're running on fumes, you gotta eat something. Okay, this is not a full meal. Back, forth. Charlie, you gotta buy yourself some suits that fit. That conversation, I was like, Charlie, okay, I get it. You're like boy wonder, you gotta buy some suits that fit. I wasn't the only one that was hammering him on that. It was also Don Jr. And eventually him, and I think it was actually him and Eric, they're like, Charlie, I know you're very frugal. We know that you're very aware that your salary comes from donors. He always wanted to be a really good steward of their capital. But eventually Don and Eric got him a gift certificate, I think it was for his birthday, to a fancy suit place to go get fitted. And the rest is future, right?
Candace, babe, it's giving side chick because these tributes to Charlie Kirk are getting real personal.
Candace, step into my office.
Girl.
You've that man before?
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen.
Right. So in today's episode, you're going to be reacting to Black Americans' hilarious reactions towards Candace Owens' tribute to Charlie Kirk.
Right. So a lot of Black Americans feel for Candace and the position she's in right now, but a few have come out to question her true relationship to Charlie, especially after the tribute she gave to Charlie.
Right. To the extent where right now the internet, people people on the internet are now comparing the tribute the wife gave when she was giving a speech and Candace Owens' tribute, and they feel like, to some extent, okay, they're saying that it's giving side chick vibes.
Right, and the main question we are asking today is, how did we get here, right? Because it started with a tribute on Instagram.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Let's do what Manny has said and hit that like button. Thank you so much, Manny, for holding it down. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. You're here. You're obviously feeling the way I do, along with Twins Hangout Kenya and all of the compilation clips they have in this video. 25 minutes of just pure goodness. Hit that like button while you're here.
On Candace Owens' Instagram page, right? And right now, for a better part of yesterday and the day that followed, people have been noticing a lot of edits come up between Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens. So today's biggest question we are asking is, do you genuinely believe that Charlie and Candace might have had something deeper than a friendship connection? Or do you think that this is just the internet trying to sensationalize something into something that is not?
Right, but guys, let's watch what we prepared for you and then we come back and talk about it. You can let us know your thoughts and opinion in the comment section. Also consider subscribing if it's your first time here, right? For now, let's watch and then we come back with our commentaries.
Candace, babe, it's giving side chick because these tributes to Charlie Kirk are getting real personal. Now, Candace Owens recently had posted this IG story as her tribute or a farewell tribute to her good friend Charlie Kirk. Now, it's understandable that they were very close and she has a lot of cuts and snippets of, their careers like growing together. But I'm not going to sit here and try to normalize this, but I do feel bad for her because she lost her friend. That's about it. Now, after she had posted this IG story, people started taking to the comments like, girl, it's giving side chick. Now, may his soul rest in peace. I'm talking about Rich Homie Quan. Do you guys remember when Rich Homie Quan had passed away and a bunch of women had came out of the woodwork saying that they had a relationship with him and they missed him and he was like their bestie? That's what this is giving. Like, this is more of a heartfelt tribute from a side piece than we actually saw from his wife. So a lot of people had flooded her comments like, girl, was you the side chick? Because it's very much giving side chick, while others are saying, this was just her friend and she loved him dearly. Sure, friend. Now, as I already predicted to you guys when we were live streaming last night, I stated that Candace Owens was going to go down the Alex Jones pipeline. She was going to take Charlie Kirk's death and launch a full-blown Alex Jones-esque conspiracy theory behind it. And she's already starting with an...
Yeah, too late. She has done that. She's implicated the entire United States military and won't name the branch of government of armed forces that's somehow involved in a civilian's death that occurred before our eyes. The entire world.
Nick Foites. So 5 days prior, Nick Foites, or however you pronounce his name, had actually came after Candace Owens, and in a statement on his live stream on Rumble, he had said that Candace Owens is no different than somebody by the name of Irana Zurika. I think she was the woman who was killed on a train or a bus. Nick Foites also stated that if he saw Candace Owens walking down the street, he'd walk the other way simply because she was Black. Now, Candace had quote tweeted these statements and his sentiment about her from Rumble. And she said just 24 hours later, he would be preaching to his audience about the gospel of Jesus Christ. And stop, Candace. In the wake of Charlie's death. So she's basically stating that Nick Foites did like this 180, right? Or 360, however you say it. I think he did a 180 where he was bashing her and saying that he wouldn't even help her if he saw her walking down the street if she were assaulted, essentially. I think that's what he's saying. And she's saying, now look at him preaching the teachings of Jesus Christ. Now, Candace also stated on her Twitter that she actually had to sit down and talk with a priest because she was so angry. And she honestly doesn't know where the anger is stemmed from. That's why I think she's going to go down this conspiracy theory pipeline. She had also posted about different videos and screen images from the day of Charlie Kirk's killing. And she said, was this person investigated? What about that person? Was that person even looked at? And now she's also laying her conspiracy theories on the FBI and stating that they did not launch a full proper investigation. Now, if Candace Owens posts anything else in regards to her full launch of conspiracy theory investigation into Charlie Kirk's death pops up, I'm going to keep you guys posted. And pray for her, y'all, because apparently she done lost her best eater.
In the end, Charlie was going through a spiritual transformation. I don't think it, I know it. He was going through a lot and there was a lot of pressure. It's hard for me to watch the people who were pressuring him say the things that they're saying. There's something about it that just feels really fake. Feels really fake to me. They would have allowed him to lose and wanted him to lose everything for changing or even slightly modifying an opinion, and then to see them doing what they're doing today, it's hurtful to me. But I don't want today to be about anything other than you guys knowing that Charlie really was an amazing person. You know, he was like, we were really close. And he was my best friend and my brother. And I will never unsee the footage of what I saw. I pray for the people who took any pleasure in that. I would never, there's not a single person in the world that I would wish that on. And least of all, someone with a
Yeah, that makeup is not messed up at all. What kind of makeup is she using? You don't even see her. Yeah, you don't see that mascara running with them tears at all. Not even a little bit. The way she pauses and it's like, goodness, when is that tear going to just roll down her eye? It just gives this whole theatrical vibe to me. It comes off like something rehearsed. You know, if you're sad, you're sad. You're just gonna end up crying at some point. Even just looking at videos and photos. If this is someone you were close to, you claim to be like a sibling to, even though she sounds like an ex-girlfriend, but you're gonna cry. You're gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be hard. You're gonna have to pause and cry. Like, how did she go this entire time without crying? I saw her eyes water up, tear up. I even did a video on it. I said she actually cried. But look how it just seems like it takes so much for her to get to that point. Whereas, man, when my father passed, it was just automatic. I just cried. I just broke down. It should not, someone you love, it should not be this difficult to get to this point where you're being vulnerable and you're showing whatever emotional side you have. This just gives off performance.
heart like Charlie's. It is so important for me to make sure that you guys understand how absolutely hilarious Charlie was. Charlie was hilarious, okay? He did not take himself too seriously. He was so good at doing imitations and accents. Any imitation, any accent, he was just on the money.
Why
And
aren't we
all
from
we
his
did
wife?
was laugh. It's all you can do and laugh. People were just so crazy all the time.
Your face is
I was
solid.
reading through the chat today. I was just laughing with just
Awkward.
tears
See
in
if
my
this fine
eyes,
goes.
thinking of
Yep.
the many road trips that we took, so many hours spent just talking trash to one another, making fun of one another. One of the best moments that I can think of, and there's so many to choose from.
Candace, step into my office. You fucked that man before? You and that man had more than a friendship, or what? Because if I was Charlie Kirk's wife, I'd be looking at you real sideways. Because, bitch, why are you crying more than me? Why are you shedding more tears than I am? Don't mind my lace or my nail. I'm fucked up right now. But why are you more upset than I am? That lady got in front of that podium and said her speech and didn't shed not one real solid tear. But you're over here posting videos and crying? Bawling your eyes out? Posting throwbacks? As if that was your man. Candace. Was you fucking? Candace, was y'all hunching?
That's the word I've heard. And oh God, I think the word hunching. She's using the word hunching. I gotta speed this up a little bit. Yeah, I have not heard that word in a decade.
Cause girl, focus, not my lace, okay? But focus on what I'm saying. If that was my man and another woman was crying like Candace been crying, Candace has been grieving.
Ugh.
Going through it. Candace, babe. Look me in the eyes and tell me you ain't been fucking that man.
I once again went so far left, I made a fucking right. Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens. I just came back from that rabbit hole. Look, just go into the rabbit hole, come back.
I'm glad they have more than just black people on here, because I'm glad to see other people here that feel the same way. That's all I'm saying. We're not alone, people, because Candace is acting like a scorned girlfriend.
You can tell me what you think.
Oh my God. Like, I mean, human, exactly. It would be hard to believe she probably fell in love with him. Look at that.
Candace Owens is grieving in the way that I thought that Charlie Kirk's wife would grieve. Like the raw emotion, the real tears, the passion, like it's very genuine that she's like upset about his passing. Like it, I don't feel bad, but like it does get very much genuine that they had a good.
I'll say this. I'm not saying she should not grieve. Okay. I don't want anyone to walk away from this like Lady Club out like she's not supposed to grieve over a friend. Nope, that's not what I'm saying. Never said that at all. Did a video where I said Candace actually cried tears in the end of her video tribute. But the way she's going about things now, it's not as if it doesn't come off like she's honoring him. Like she's honoring him and still being respectful of the family while trying to ask questions. And, you know, I consider myself an independent journalist. I don't know what Candace Owens considers herself to be. She's throwing out accusations about any and every little thing when it comes to his shooting and the death. I mean, it's almost like it's so far out of left field to where she's not even giving room for the actual wife to have a moment. You know, the wife, Erica Kirk, deserves to have a moment to grieve. Turning Point USA, they deserve to have a moment to grieve. She's making it seem like you all shouldn't be grieving right now. You should be trying to figure out who shot him. And they're all sitting there like Tyler Robinson did. I mean, we don't have any evidence to prove otherwise. Candace, that's the point. She has not produced any solid evidence to prove otherwise. If Tyler Robertson did not do it, then where is your evidence to prove who did? Not you asking questions, not you fishing around. Where is the evidence to prove that the U.S. military was involved? Starting with a branch of military. What evidence do you have? You just saying all of this seems suspicious? That's getting old. She's repeating that over and over and over again. This is so suspicious. This is so suspicious. This seems awkward. This doesn't feel right. Doesn't fit right. Doesn't sound right. I had a vision. It's a bee. It's a box of bees. She's repeating the same thing over and over again. We get it, Candace Owens. You doubt that it's Tyler Robinson, but you don't have any evidence to prove that it's not Tyler Robinson. That's where we are with this.
Friendship, relationship, whatever they had, okay? And here's the thing, I'm not the grief police. I'm not here to tell people how to mourn. Grief looks different in everybody. And I know that if my loved one was murdered, my immediate reaction would be anger. But even with anger, there's tears, there's still passion. And I just don't get that from her. It's very stoic, it's very performative, it's very scripted. It's like they were very calculated at, you know, how she came out and spoke. And it's like, this is not even just your husband, this is the father of your children. Like, I just expect more emotion than what I saw. Even the pictures of her, like, you know, the pictures and the videos of her like rubbing his body and baby I love you, and it just doesn't give, like, it gives arranged marriage, and it just gives that she's going to be remarried within the next year. Like, she might be the traditional wife that just shuts up. Okay, I should be aligned with, like, y'all are all
Candace Owens video where she
does like
and respect, she's basically eulogizing them because they were real friends. But if you want to watch it, hey, it's on her page. But I do want to highlight something from her eulogy of Charlie Kirk. The level of focus and determination he had to build Turning Point USA to what it is admirable. I know there's going to be a lot of people who feel like it was birthed in hate. It was birthed in bigotry. I know there's that crowd. And I'm not here to debate you if that's how you feel. Like, I'm not here to sway you. I don't care. But one thing to take away is just how pinpoint his direction was. He told Candace that we're not going to drink. We're always going to outwork our competition, or not even competition, like people who already exist in the space. And we're going to outwork them, and we're definitely going to outwork, like, you know, the Democratic Party or whatever. And she said he was so focused and determined from an 18-year-old kid to, the 31-year-old man. Like, he never lost sight of his vision. And I didn't know this, but she was like, of course, it makes sense. His hero was Rush Limbaugh. And he's like, he's going to be as powerful of a right-leaning conservative voice as Rush Limbaugh. And she was saying that, like, for example, like, Fox News is still the biggest news media platform in the United States, if I'm not mistaken. And he was like, one rule they had, like, for Fox News. And and then you hear people from other sides plural, not just one side, sides, and they're not willing to put that same level of work in. It's just like, yeah, bruh, they're serious, or they haven't built what Charlie built. And I'm not getting, this is not about the content of it. This is just about the dedication, the hard work, the effort, the will. It's people with that, how Charlie built what he built. Like, it's clear and complete.
Has played you, yeah. I feel like always somebody. How many tail the line handedly? I mean,
I think that's all they show. So they give their commentary here at the end, and I encourage you guys. I have the video link in the description.
She wears
for you guys to check out. Twins Hangout Kenya, shout out to them for making that compilation. I didn't follow Turning Point USA like that. I don't get into the politics of any of this stuff, but my whole thing is, if you're going to sit here and look at, the death of someone from a legal stance or a logistical stance, you need to have some evidence. You need to have proof and documentation. And Candace is not presenting that. She's presenting a bunch of theories and conspiracies that are getting out of control. And when she puts things out there, she leaves it very general for others to respond to it, like sound biting. She sound bites Turning Point and Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister. She sound bites certain names, certain companies. And then they feel like they have to respond now, because if they don't know what's going to happen to them or their company or anything. Just like she did today with this Caldera Engineering Company. They may have to respond just to keep her cult base off of them so that they can continue to function. We can recall what happened with Phil Lyman. She was sitting here asking off Phil Lyman's mother. And then when she tries to reach out to him to have an interview, then she's sitting here having to say, well, he's understandably angry. Yeah, because you're out here talking about where is his mother. What does his mother have to do with anything? You had this whole man's life on your channel where you have over 5 million subscribers. And they're hounding him down. They're sitting here hounding down his nephew, cousin, whatever they call each other. They refer to each other like an uncle-nephew relationship, even though I think they're cousins. You're sitting here talking about, well, I think it's odd that you can't find his mother. Okay, Candace, where's your mother? All these things, all these questions you're asking about others, people can ask of you. And it's coming down to a point where, and I'm going to say this, it feels to me that she is hiding behind the death of Charlie Kirk. Albeit she could be upset about it and very hurt and feel that loss. But she knows that she has bigger issues going on as well, such as this lawsuit from the Macrons. And if she keeps going, she's going to end up catching one from the Israeli prime minister, because he's going to get sick of her nonsense. And that's where we are now. It's like, you should not have world leaders suing you in court for defamation because you refuse to bring forth evidence. Say what you want about Brigitte Macron and how you think she looks. You need scientific evidence to prove if she is a male or female. You need DNA. And Candace Owens knows that. And despite the fact that she knows that, she still says that this woman was born a man and is a man. She has doubled down to where they have filed an amended lawsuit, and her attorneys refuse to tell her, can you stop saying that? Just stop. You're in court about it. Shut up about that. She knows that that lawsuit is going to whoop her ass. And they can use all these videos she still makes to show a pattern of behavior, Candace. And they will. They will use these videos against you in a court of law, Candace Owens, because it shows your character. This is a civil proceeding, not a criminal matter. The burden here is not beyond a reasonable doubt. It is a preponderance of the evidence. And she is not smart enough to remember, I'm being sued for defamation. Let me not go out and keep making wild hair conspiracy theories about anything else right now. That's where Candace's mindset is. So for those that think she's so smart, let's sit back and see how bad she gets her behind whooped in court. Because she's adding to her own demise with that. Because she's helping to establish her character, pattern of behavior, and how she goes about with these conspiracy theories that turns into flat out lies. So, having said that, let's get ready to check out Becoming Candace, the real story of Candace Owens. Shout out to Philly Busted. Please check out their YouTube channel and subscribe. The link to the video is in the description of this video here. It's 20 minutes long, and I am so ready for it. So put a 1 in the chat if you can see and hear. Let's get to it.
And today, I have been sued by the first lady man of France.
You don't get sued by the entire French government by playing it safe. You don't go to court with a foreign president on accident. Are we describing the underdog story of a lifetime? One woman, Candace Owens, against French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife, First Lady Brigitte. Some have called Candace's theory the most outrageous, unbelievable story ever heard. Others have called it a masterpiece of investigative journalism.
And then it turns out she's right.
Yeah. Either way, it could be considered the trial of the century, a trial that echoes the passions of one bold woman influencer. Anakin, woke right, anti-Semite, bully. These accusations, and others like them, bombard the comment section beneath nearly every X post from @RealCandaceO. But are they accurate? How did Candace Owens go from reawakened conservative poster child to controversial podcaster mom fighting a legal battle against a foreign sitting president? What twists and turns lead a person to a moment like this? If we humans are largely the result of our combined experiences, then what happened to Candace in her lifetime that would cause her to take the stand she is making today?
Woo! It sounds like her desire to be infamous. Candace, you're about to be famous for all the wrong reasons. And I just want to get to some of you guys' comments here. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. First of all, I appreciate that. Please hit that like button. Shout out to Manny, my mod up in here. And if I have any others in here, I don't want to overlook you, but make sure you guys are hitting that like button. And shout out to Philly Busted for this fantastic video. So I want to make sure I get some of you guys comments in. Francisca said, where is her husband? I know. She said only her husband and Erica Kirk can tell her to shut up. Hopefully her attorneys can get her to do that as well, because it needs to happen. But if she doesn't, Candace Owens, you do understand what you're in for. If you refuse to shut up, you know, you can be shut up in a court of law. That lawsuit is going to be something beyond what you can handle. She's going to go broke when more lawsuits start flying. Exactly. You're going to have businesses and other individuals suing her simply because of the harassment that they're having introduced into their lives when she mentions their name or their company name in her videos, and then insinuating that they're somehow involved in the death of Charlie Kirk. You know, and I use Phil Lyman as that prime example because his nephew ended up he had 3 different social media platforms. 2 of them he shut down completely. And the one social media he still has up, he took down all of his videos because he got tired of the harassment. And now she's out looking for, you know, older males with long hair that can be put up in a ponytail or a man bun. It's so crazy. Candace, you better stop before your husband starts losing pounds, pun intended. They can now say she is mentally challenged. Well, the thing is, if they were to order her to a psyche eval, she would pass the psyche eval. She would not be deemed mentally incompetent to stand any trial, and this is, considering the fact that it's a civil proceeding. I mean, if anything, she probably needs some anger management, but it would be hard for her to prove that, oh, I'm mentally insane at this point and I can't go through this, because that would be a joke. And the judges watch YouTube as well. They will see these videos. Judge Rennie Sheldon, he's going to see these videos. And the jury is going to see the videos. And they're going to be like, okay, you did all what you did intentionally. You doubled down on it after being served a lawsuit. And then you tried to blame the lawsuit for the death of a civilian, for the death of Charlie Kirk. She tried to blame the lawsuit from the Macrones for the death of Charlie Kirk. They're suing me to silence me. The lawsuit came before he passed away, Candace. That's what's so disgusting about her accusations here. She's completely removing herself from showing any empathy or humanity or compassion. How do you blame a lawsuit that was filed back in July on the death of Charlie Kirk that occurred less than about a month ago? But that's where she is now. So she's going to catch it. She's going to catch it. You ever notice how she debates always calm, measured, like a robot trained to argue with you? So yeah, because she says the same thing over and over again. And because she has enough of a following to where they believe anything she says, so they don't challenge her to produce evidence and documentation. It's so crazy. Like I said, her doubling down on Brigitte Macron being born a man and being a man after being sued over it, after lying about, saying she was not going to seek a dismissal, and then filing a motion to dismiss with a brief to support it, and then going back and still saying she was a man. She's a man and was born a man. Oh, you're not suing me for saying you were born a man, when that is 90% of the damn lawsuit. And now trying to blame Charlie's death on the Macron's lawsuit that came before his death. You understand how crazy that's going to sound to the judge and jury? Candace, I hope you know that. I know you watch my videos, Heifer. That's going to sound so bonkers to the judge and jury. So let's get back to it. Thank you all for tuning in. Hit the like button and engage in the chat. Everybody speak to everybody.
Candace would tell you in so many words that she was partially raised a camouflage conservative who then, like many others, deviated from that path in college years. It is clear that Candace learned some conservative values under the guidance of her grandfather. Though she doesn't directly attribute her ideology to her grandfather, she regularly dotes on him, and for good reason. Hardworking, all-American, bootstraps kind of character. During Candace's preteen era, she became collateral damage to her parents' divorce, which, in a twist of fate, thrust her into what she would come to recall fondly in her adult years as a positive and pivotal season of her life. Amidst the divorce, she was sent to live with her grandparents, where she would at least be partly shaped by the character and history of her grandpa. Robert Owens grew up in North Carolina on a Jim Crow-era sharecropping farm. Robert knew a tough life under the social strains of that time, but attempted to raise his grandchildren with a healthy fear of God, imparting some valuable lessons into Candace's life. Perhaps one of the most formative events of her life was during high school. A fallout between good friends turned into a nasty lawsuit, nearly ruining the lives of a few teenagers forever. The story goes, Candace had missed a series of phone calls, and upon checking the voicemails, was shocked and disturbed to hear the voice of a friend making death threats and racial slurs directly aimed at her. Not wanting to make a big scene, but also in fear of her life and safety, she reported the incident to school authorities, who took the case very seriously until it was discovered that one of the perpetrators just so happened to be the son of the local mayor.
What?
Politics did what politics does, and after a few months of battling in the court to ascertain the true events, the boys involved received a heavy slap on the hand, and Candace received a modest settlement to cover lawyer fees and other related expenses paid for by the school district. Candace has often expressed remorse over the fallout, and it remains a detrimental event in her life to this day. Having to endure such a public injustice as this can leave a permanent imprint. What kind of repercussions did this have on a young, impressionable Candace? Is this the moment she acquired that first layer of thick skin she wears so boldly today?
When I was in high school, I received a slew of messages. Bottom line, it's not fun to be a victim. And I'm adamantly against victimhood.
If her heart still bears a wound, is that wound festering
But that
or
doesn't mean
healing?
that you're not a victim.
In college, Candace fell for the liberal agenda, a point in history she never shies away from. In fact, she uses it often as fuel to light up the left. In the pursuit of journalism, Candace quickly came to realize the financial complexities of school was not worth the payout, and eventually she would drop out early. Not one to simply fade into the background, she put her convictions to work and designed a website intended to expose bullies online. The concept was simple and appeared an innocent endeavor. SocialAutopsy.com was a website intended to lift the masks off of online bullies by linking online harassment posts to real identities. At first, the project merely raised eyebrows, but it didn't take long to generate some serious heat and even lead to a deeper conspiracy between Candace and two other, what Candace calls, professional victims. The story is full of twists and turns and extremely odd coincidences. The end result is Candace ruffled the feathers of a prominent anti-harassment group at the time, and her Kickstarter project became indefinitely suspended. Wow. Immediately afterwards, her inbox was flooded with more death threats and hate mail that would span the whole spectrum of online abuse, from the most dismissive comments to the most vile things one can conjure. Was their rejection of Candace's work a sign of jealousy from anti-bully competitors? In the Wild West films, they would say, "This town ain't big enough for the two of us." Or was there something deeper happening behind the scenes?
Wow.
Without funding or backing of any sort, Candace was forced to abandon that hill rather than die on it. However, she continued to carry her banner to other hills. Unfortunately, the social autopsy story is too convoluted to come to any reasonable conclusion. As with every story, there are two sides, and this one requires picking. Was Candace...
So let me just pause here, because I one thing what she said was, she doesn't want to play the victim, right? To recap, the boys that left the voicemail messages were Caucasian, related to the governor, and it was like hate messages. But for her to say, "I don't want to play the victim," you don't have to play a victim if you are a victim of a hate crime. I mean, you don't have to dwell in it forever. You can forgive and move forward and help teach others, how to recognize bullying. But to say you're not trying to play a victim, it does take away those who are victims, including herself, and takes away that credibility. Because if you go to report it or you go to court, the law, the judge, the jury, the investigators, the police, they consider you legally to be a victim. You are able to give victim impact statements. They consider you a victim. That is how our judicial branch of government is set up, to where if something happens to you, a crime is committed against you, you are technically considered to be the victim. There is nothing wrong with saying, I was, I had this crime committed against me. This happened to me. I was the victim in this matter. But you don't have to sit here and say, I'm not trying to play the victim. No one is asking you to play anything. Just go to court, tell your story, say what happened, be honest and truthful and genuine, and no one will take it or perceive it as if you're playing something. And the reason why she's saying that is because she has received all of this backlash of people saying you're playing the victim, you're playing the victim. People say that when they're trying to invalidate you, when they're trying to deem you to be less credible, when they're trying to, take away the merit of your claim. It's a legal strategy, if anything else. And unfortunately, that legal strategy that you see oftentimes in court has been weaponized by regular human beings, to where now everyone is sitting here talking about, oh, you're playing the victim. You're playing the victim. There's a difference in someone playing the victim and being hypocritical, when they do something wrong and bully others and attack others and dox others and, cyber harass others. They don't see a problem with it. They boast about it. But if someone says they shouldn't be doing this, then they take that as, oh, you're victimized, you're bullying me, because they want to take attention from what they're actually doing. But if you're truly been if you have truly been the victim of a crime, it is not for anyone else except the court of law to determine what you have been through was truly illegal. And the court is what matters at the end of the day when it comes to you being the victim. Giving your victim impact statements. Those are the things that matter at the end of the day. But you don't have to live up to what other people are saying that are not attorneys and judges. They're not in the jury. They have no bearing in the legal process at all. If it was a crime committed against you, all these people sitting here talking about you playing the victim, all of the bullshit they say is meaningless because they have no impact in court. And that's what the concept of being a victim comes down to, is how the courts and how law enforcement perceives you to be when a crime has been committed against you. So there's a legal definition you can look up for the word victim. It's not a choice. It is based on what has occurred to you that has been deemed to be illegal. So when it comes to the court, judges, they do care about the victim. They do have empathy for the victim. They allow victims to give victim impact statements. That is a legal concept you can also define. So it doesn't matter what everybody else says. Oh, you're playing the victim. All that shit is irrelevant because when you go to court, that's where you being the victim matters the most. You don't have to play the role. You just simply give your testimony, give your victim impact statement, let the evidence speak for itself. And those who are saying that, they're only doing that to try to invalidate and to try to take away the merit of your claim. They are irrelevant when it comes to the court of law. Shout out to you, writer Albert Lanier. How you doing? Being a victim isn't a choice primarily when it comes to crime. Cops and prosecutors deal on a victim perpetrator basis in the justice system. Exactly. It's a legal term. It's a legal concept. And unfortunately, people have taken the idea of the concept and the definition of actually being a victim to try to make it seem as if you're playing a role just to invalidate your feelings and to invalidate whatever injustice you've experienced, whatever crime that's been committed against you. That's not for any of us to just do willy-nilly. You let stuff like that play out in court. And if the judge sees you as the victim, if the state, the prosecutor, if they say you're the victim because a crime has been committed against you, that's where it matters. You don't have to play being a victim. You are the victim. And in the legal system, I'd rather let that play out in court and let them work that out. Give your victim impact statements and let the jury decide what should happen to someone who commits a crime against you. Forget all the outside people who, most of which have never even stepped foot in a law school. They're going to say that for dumb reasons. Who knows? But Candace doesn't have to say that. She doesn't have to go through life trying to avoid playing a victim. If you had a hate crime committed against you, the court sees you as the victim. That's it. That's what that comes down to. All right. Y'all hit that like button. Let's get back to it.
Bullied out of her platform for standing up for the right to denounce bullies online? Or had she actually crossed a line? Had she created a form of predictive policing similar to Minority Report, where someone could be punished before proven guilty? Was she setting herself up to be the judge, jury, and executioner? She obviously desired to root out an atrocious and common evil, but did she accidentally open the gates for another? Was this a defensive tendency morphed into a weapon? Either way, Candace had a rude awakening with the shutting down of Social Autopsy and has claimed that this was the experience that would ultimately change her political viewpoint forever. In her words,
I became a conservative overnight. I realized that liberals were actually the racists, that liberals were actually the trolls.
Social Autopsy is why I'm conservative. It wasn't long after this when Candace took inventory of her social and political environment. You see, up to this point, she was steeped in the general liberal community and considered herself a part of that club. For example, in an early blog site she ran called Degree 180, she regularly wrote and posted articles that were sometimes neutral and oftentimes very critical of conservatives, Republicans, and specifically then presidential candidate Donald Trump. This was merely an evidence of the likely influence she was under. Although her conservative roots were beginning to grow, she was still heavily influenced by her time as a college student, intern at Vogue, living a New York City and fashion world lifestyle, and so on. Looking back, this period in her life is indicative of a battle between two opposing forces. Making the firm decision to transition to a role of conservative influencer, she launched another media outlet called Red Pill Black, where she garnered serious attention from both sides by calling out the inconsistencies and contradictions of the far left. The hard pivot was so intense and laser focused that it raised questions from many on both sides. Was she simply following a pattern of attacking the things that offended her most at that moment? Or was the blooming of a character that had been long since planted only now coming to life in the full sun? Either way, she quickly became the conservative media darling and was swept away by the positive support and enthusiasm from her new conservative base. While once critical of Trump, she turned into an advocate and espoused the common sense rhetoric that had seemed to be innate all along, but only now was expressed in true form, at least until the next changeup.
Candace Owens has a beef, but this time it's with a right-wing darling.
2021, just before Candace goes to work for the Daily Wire, she becomes embroiled in yet another public scandal. During an Instagram live feed, Candace leveled a series of accusations against former Republican congressional candidate Kimberly Klacik.
And yet nothing on the website works, which is totally bizarre. It looks to me like it was just created late in the day to move some money off of the books. That's my conclusion. My feeling is that some money was laundered. That's a feeling. I cannot confirm that.
She claimed the Congresswoman was guilty of money laundering, tax fraud.
That's a strong accusation with no evidence. A feeling? I mean, we have a lot of feelings about Umar, saying that his accounts are frozen. But we still sit here and ask for him to produce evidence that the accounts existed and were frozen. But to say, I have a feeling that some money was laundered. What? A feeling. That's it. At least she wasn't purporting to be a fact, but it's still a strong accusation with no evidence.
Illegal drug use and misusing campaign funds. Not only that, but she took it a step further and said Klacik was a madam who was recruiting strippers for her husband's strip club. Unshockingly, Klacik denied the allegations in a bold move to shut Candace down. Klacik decided to sue her for defamation, seeking a startling $20 million in reparations to her tarnished career. What Klacik did not account for was the laws of the state of Tennessee, where the suit took place. Tennessee just so happens to have one of the strongest free speech-related laws in the country. Serendipitously, it is called the anti-SLAPP law, and Tennessee takes it very seriously.
Yes, because that's what Umar Johnson filed against Marianne Laurent, a SLAPP suit. Now do y'all understand? Lady Luck Club knows what she's talking about. Suing someone for $500,000 or $20 million because they're a critic. That is a SLAPP suit. It doesn't make any sense.
A strategic lawsuit against public participation, otherwise known as SLAPP, is described as this in a recent article from the Tennessean. SLAPP suits are a type of costly lawsuit used to silence criticism and prevent people from exercising their First Amendment rights through the threat or application of baseless and expensive legal proceedings. Essentially, an anti-SLAPP law means you can't just sue someone because they accuse you of something, no matter how inaccurate that accusation might be. SLAPP is often used by prominent figures as a sort of bully mechanism, allowing those in power to use money as leverage. Was Candace reeling from the slap of the bully all over again? Or was this a fight she welcomed? Was this a good journalist standing firm in the spirit of free speech? Or was this a continued pattern of controversy lust? SLAPP suits are designed to incur such extreme fees and costs that the average person can't afford to defend themselves, including Candace. But she stood her ground. Under Tennessee's strong anti-SLAPP law, Candace not only won her suit against Klacik, but was awarded over $100,000 to cover the legal fees. But Tennessee is, interestingly enough, not the only state with strong anti-SLAPP laws. In fact, most of the US has these laws and are graded on a percentage basis. Some states have a grade of 0, as in no laws. Then, of course, the max goes to 100, which is described as excellent. One such state just happens to be Delaware. For those who have been paying attention, you already know where I'm going with this. Candace found herself neck deep in yet another legal battle this time. However, she upped the ante and set her sights on a powerful political world leader, the President of France, Emmanuel Macron. Candace wasn't actually the forerunner of this next story, but she certainly picked up the torch to run it all the way to the finish line. Early 2021, a certain interview between a journalist and a self-proclaimed clairvoyant went viral on YouTube, racking up hundreds of thousands of views in a short time. In this video, French independent journalist Natasha Ray made a bold claim that the First Lady of France was actually a man. The story eventually came across the desk of Candace Owens, where she took it so seriously that she ended up publicly stating, "After looking into this, I would stake my entire professional reputation on the fact that Brigitte Macron is in fact a man." The accusation lit the world on fire and has since caused the French president and first lady a significant amount of emotional and political stress.
That's crazy.
Why would Candace level an accusation as disruptive as this one? Does Candace flippantly play with fate? Or could this be a hill worth dying on? The situation expanded into such a controversy that Macron decided to take Candace to court and sue her for defamation. Once again, Candace jumps into the ring. Is this a spotlight she enjoys? Or could it be that she has been conditioned for this kind of conflict for a reason?
I don't, and let me just pause there because I want to add this in. The burden to meet for the Macrons, because he is a public figure and he's a elected official, albeit in a different country, is that he has to prove malice intent, right? So it's still having to prove a preponderance of the evidence with malice intent. So it's ended up a little bit because of his position being an elected official. He's the president of a country and he's a public figure as well. But the thing is, even with the malice intent, if you are correcting the record, meaning they sent exhibits to Candace to get her to correct the record, to try to get her to, look at the evidence, to say that this is incorrect, what you're saying, what you're doing is wrong. I'm not a man, I'm a woman. Here's some evidence to prove it. And she, if you listen closely in her videos she did covering that, even said that she was willing to accept just some yes and no responses to some questions. So, of course, she wanted a full interview. Well, they don't owe her that. And because they did not give her an interview, a one-on-one interview, she got mad. And then she came back, doubled down. And then, of course, they started sending her photos. They sent a birth announcement. They sent her other documentation to prove that, the photos alone were from Brigitte Macron's childhood, wedding photos. I think they did send her a couple photos where she was pregnant. Brigitte Macron has 3 children. She has grandchildren now. So she sent photos. And somehow Candace is still running around here talking about she is a man, born a man, because, like she said, she staked her entire professional career on it. But what Candace realizes is that what she's claiming would require scientific evidence. You can't go after someone's gender, which is physiological, and ignore the fact that you would need scientific evidence, DNA, to prove that. If irrefutable proof. Now, would the court make Brigitte Macron give up DNA? No, they wouldn't. But since the Macrons have announced that they are willing to provide scientific evidence, now how do you think Candace is looking at this lawsuit situation? Because they're not going to sit here and go through all what they're going through and say, we're going to come with scientific evidence because we know that is the one piece of irrefutable evidence you need to prove someone's gender. When you're talking about human anatomy, biology, it is a matter of science. Now they're prepared to produce that evidence. And Candace Owens is freaking out. That's why she's sitting here talking about the Macrons lawsuit somehow was filed to silence her from talking about the death of Charlie Kirk, which happened after they filed the lawsuit anyway. And her ego, her pride won't allow her to at least say, I made an error in good faith. Because now she can't say it's in good faith because she's doubling down on it. I have literally said that in at least 2 videos. Candace Owens does not want to do what we see as reporting with integrity. She wants to be salacious. She wants the views, the notoriety, the sponsors she has. She wants to have this influence that she has. And it's like she's becoming drunk on this. And it's not worth it. She's got a husband and 4 kids. Why would she risk her entire professional career on the first lady of an entirely different country again? I've asked 2 or 3 times, why isn't she saying the same things about Melania Trump? I mean, to be honest, why not just go after any first lady that's been accused of being a man? Why the French president and his wife? Why not go after them? People have said the same thing about Melania Trump. Why not go for that? Why not go after any story, Candace, that is focused in the United States of America? You're going after something that's happening in France like we care. Why do you care about anything going on in France when the same things have been said about the First Lady of the United States? Candace knows that it was the quickest and most assured way to pick up from something that was already trending and to run wild with it. And she went all the way there. And the more crazy, the more kooky it is, the more salacious it is, the more views you get, the more subscribers, the more sponsors, the more attention it gets. Because look what's happening. Look how wild and crazy she is about the death of Charlie Kirk, insinuating the United States military. We can't say what branch of the armed forces. If I started saying some of the craziest stuff that I could think of and doing videos and content, people start watching it. They're like, what the hell is Lady Luck Club talking about? People will watch it because they're trying to see what I'm saying. Let me sit here and read a lawsuit or some facts or something. Nope. Crazy shit sells. Crazy shit gets attention. Crazy nonsense gets views. At this point, she's so far in this. I mean, who's going to help her get out of that hole she dug for herself? She's insane. And she knows it. But what she will not be able to do is pull that nonsense off in court because there's a jury trial demand. And you got 6 to 12 members of your peers that's going to sit on that jury, Candace. And they're going to sit here and say, why didn't you just correct the record when they sent you all of this information, this evidence to prove you wrong? What is she going to say about that?
Perhaps this is a chicken and egg quandary. Which came first, the affinity for public legal battles or the inevitable life trajectory of one so conditioned to endure this exact type of dispute? Maybe the more important question is, why is she so willing to take such a potentially risky stance on a story this sensational? Does 2025 Candace concretely believe she's going to win this lawsuit? Or does some level of doubt still linger in the equation in her mind? If the risk is known, why take the chance? Could it be as simple as the pattern of success? Up to this point, Candace hasn't lost a battle yet. Does the old proverb, pride goes before destruction, apply here? Or will Candace come out victorious once again? It is important to note that the 2 women who initially launched this theory against Brigitte were already taken to court in France by the Macrons, where at first, in the lower courts, the Macrons experienced success. However, it was short-lived, and the 2 women were exonerated and found not guilty of defamation in an appeal that took place in July of 2025. Was this verdict a foreshadowing for Candace? The case against Candace would not land on French ground, but instead would be destined for the Delaware court. And if you recall from the classic suit story, Delaware is one of the strongest anti-SLAPP states in the country and rates at a perfect score of 100. Coincidence? Maybe. But if not, Delaware may have been a strategic move from the start. Did Candace incorporate her businesses in Delaware on purpose so that she could potentially make whatever claims she wanted? It would be too easy to dismiss Candace Owens as a crazed conspiracy theorist, unworthy of public attention, and yet perhaps too unfair to the public to simply let her off the hook and not hold her accountable for her claims. When looking at her life through the only lens we have, a publicly available one with natural limitations, the highlights are revealed organically. From the bullied, scared teenager to the stoic, hardened personality we see today, it begs the question, has Candace become what she loathed in her younger years? Has Candace now in fact become the bully she vowed to protect people from? Or are we asking the wrong questions? The honest truth is that no one knows but Candace herself and God. And maybe she doesn't even know. Is the Candace that we see simply an act, a personality she dons as a mask in order to accomplish whatever means she intends, be it notoriety, money, excitement, or truth? Or maybe the Candace that we see is really just Candace, and what you see is what you get. Time will tell.
Wow.
Thanks for watching. Whether you believe Candace is a righteous figure standing for justice or not, her story can actually be a warning to us all. Be careful in your passion, lest you become the very thing you hate. It's easy to see that this world is a sinful place, and sadly, sometimes we find ourselves wrapped up in the very evils that we condemn. It's true that in a lot of ways, our decisions today are defined by patterns from our past. What started as innocence is left broken, marred by shame and regret. But what if I told you there was a way to break off the negative patterns and be free again? And I'm not trying to sell a self-help book here. I'm actually talking about a spiritual truth that changed my life. I have some good news today. I believe there is a way to become something more than what our past dictates. And the answer is not so hard to find. It's found in a simple story. The Bible tells us that the one who did not know sin became sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. This is the story of a holy God who created a people that he loved with a perfect love. Yet those people wandered away from him and in some cases ran away. But because he still loved them so much, God came to the earth as a man, lived a perfect life, and then allowed people to kill him unjustly by hanging him on a cross. When Jesus did this, he was taking the punishment for sin, our sin, upon himself. And he was making a way for us to know God again. As he hung on that cross, he became sin so that we could become new, so that we could be forgiven and become something more, friends with God, people that will spend eternity with him. I believe this is more than just a story. I believe it's true. And it has changed my life in every way. And it can do the very same thing for you today, if you choose to believe it. My friend, we shot this whole video to be able to say this to you. Jesus is right there, and he's reaching out to you. I hope you enjoyed this content, and I'll see you next time.
I did. That was fantastic. Shout out to Philly Busted for this video. This was really, really good. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was good 20 minutes here. And I mean, it just kind of spoke to, her history. And I believe in this. If I'm going to sit here and do a video and report on someone, I at least try to get some sort of backdrop on that individual. So this was a good backdrop, gave some history behind Candace and who she is. And I'm just, I still don't understand why she wants to put herself in this situation. Like, it makes no sense. And I just want to kind of, show you guys a previous lawsuit, previous claim that she has filed, that was thrown out. This is a lawsuit that Candace Owens filed against USA Today, was thrown out by judge for not proving malice. So she's not new to litigation matters. It's not like she's never had to go to court over a lawsuit, especially involving malice. And her case was thrown out by Superior Court Judge Craig Karsnitz for not being able to prove malice to her claims. So, this was about the COVID-19 flu deaths, all those things. She cited the CDC reports, argued sarcastically that the number of flu deaths had decreased drastically in early 2020. A tortious interference claim cannot survive if the claim is premised solely on statements that are protected by the First Amendment, because the exercise of constitutionally protected speech cannot be an improper or wrongful action. The judge ruled earlier this week that Owens had failed to state an actionable claim against USA Today or Lead Stories LLC, a Colorado-based entity. Lead Stories, like USA Today, is paid by Facebook to publish fact-check articles examining whether certain posts contain false information, according to the court ruling. Dozens of outside organizations, including the Associated Press, participate in Facebook's fact-checking program. Lead Stories published an article in April 2020 fact-checking a Facebook post in which Owens claimed that the way the U.S. government officials counted COVID-19 deaths overstated the scope and dangers of the pandemic. The Lead Stories article labeled Owens' post with the terms hoax alert and false and prompted Facebook to place a false information warning on Owens' post. Owens claimed that defendant articles harmed her by preventing her from deriving advertising revenue. You see this? It was about money. She sued because she felt that it was keeping her from generating revenue, not because she believed in what she was saying. No, because your nonsense is keeping me. Your fact checking is keeping my post from generating revenue, people. This is a lawsuit Candace Owens filed against the Lead Stories LLC. And it was thrown out. She lost because she failed to prove malice. She failed to state a claim. So, in this case, was heard in a court in Delaware. So, for her attorneys to say, now all of a sudden, when it comes to the Macron's case, Delaware courts don't have any jurisdiction, but this lawsuit that Candace Owens filed, was filed in the same state, I believe. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. Let me pull this up. I want to pull up the court documents. Candace Owens. Hold on a second. I'm actually going to pull it up if I can. Versus the Lead Stories LLC. Hold on one second. Because like I said, I want to make sure I've read across this pleading previously. And I just want to make sure I have this correct. When I say this, hold on. Yep, in the court. Y'all, here it is right here. Here it is. Y'all see this? In the Superior Court of the State of Delaware. Now explain to me why all of a sudden the Macron's lawsuit somehow should not be heard in a Delaware court, but when Candace Owens filed a lawsuit utilizing her LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, the Candace Owens LLC, that is registered in the state of Delaware, all of a sudden, her case can be heard in the courts in Delaware, in a Superior Court of Delaware. She lost because she failed to prove malice and she failed to state a claim. But now that the Macrons have filed their defamation lawsuit against her in the state of Delaware because of her LLC, a Delaware limited liability company. Now, all of a sudden, the state of Delaware does not have jurisdiction and they're just libel tourism. Make that make sense? To the attorneys of Candace Owens, you're going to have to prove how this is not being hypocritical. Your client tried to file a lawsuit against the Lead Stories and Gannett Satellite Information Network, USA Today. She has a LLC in Delaware. But now all of a sudden, the Macrons is committing libel tourism for filing a case in the state of Delaware where her LLC is registered. Georgetown Inc. So now all of a sudden the state of Delaware is not good enough to hear that case to the attorneys of Candace Owens. Now she doesn't remember she has LLCs registered in the state of Delaware. Look at this. Defendant's motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim under Delaware Superior Court Civil Rule 12b-6. That was granted for them. That means she failed to state a claim. She failed to prove malice. You guys can always look this up. Let me put this link in here. Because, see, Candace's attorney forgets that this lawsuit is real. They forget that this is a real lawsuit. This is called precedence, people. Candace's attorneys forget that precedence has already been established when it comes to jurisdiction. Because Candace herself has filed a lawsuit against USA Today and the lead stories in the state of damn Delaware. Now all of a sudden the Macrons are liability shopping or libel tourism. It's libel tourism. You can't make this stuff up. So there's the link to the court document because Lady Luck Club comes with the receipts, Candace Owens. You and your attorneys, y'all acting like some clowns right now. All of a sudden, the state of Delaware can't hear a case from the Macrons for defamation now, mind you, for defamation. Same thing that your client tried to file against the Lead Stories LLC. Now, all of a sudden, the humanity, when she's the defendant in a case from the Macrons. Oh, the humanity. And guess what? It ain't the first time she's seen that same judge she has too. He was over this case at one point. For the reasons stated above, I grant both defendants' motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim under Delaware Superior Court Civil Rule 12b as in boy to number 6. This case is dismissed. It is so ordered. Candace, you lost. You lost. You lost this case. You lost because you failed to state a claim. And this was heard in the Superior Court of the state of Delaware. Now, all of a sudden, the Macrons, how dare they file a defamation lawsuit in the state of Delaware? You lost, Candace. Unbelievable. The hypocrisy of it all. So let's get back to this article. Owens claimed that the defendant's articles harmed her by preventing her from deriving advertising revenue from her Facebook page and promoting her book Blackout on Facebook. She sued USA Today and Lead Stories for intentional interference with contractual relations, tortious interference with prospective business relations, and unfair competition. She also filed 2 separate claims against Lead Stories, accusing it of defamation. She lost. She failed to state a claim. She failed to prove malice. Candace, you didn't win everything, girl. You lost. The political aspects of this case are manifest, but must be ignored in favor of the application of the law, Superior Court Judge Craig Karsnitz noted in his ruling. While rejecting arguments that he lacked jurisdiction over Lead Stories, Karsnitz ruled that Owens had failed to show that statements made by Lead Stories regarding her Facebook posts were false under a reasonable conceivability standard. The judge also ruled that the term hoax alert in the Lead Stories article was used as a loose, figurative, or hyperbolic language, and readers would not understand it to mean that Owens was intentionally spreading a lie. Yeah, because, she does it all the time. It's like we become immune to it. She does it so much, we're just immune to it. It's not to say that Candace doesn't lie. Oh, she's lied. We're just immune to her lying at this point. Karsnitz also said Owens, a public figure, failed to show that Lead Stories had published a false statement and did so with actual malice. So, Candace, the court has already deemed you to be a public figure as well. So just as much as you have to prove malice, you also are expecting the Macrons to prove malice. Funny how when the tables are turned, all of a sudden Candace doesn't know how court works. Candace, you're a hypocrite, girl. You're a hypocrite. You want lead stories to prove, you want them to sit here and pay you money for defamation, but you failed to prove actual malice because you couldn't make any money from your book and from the post itself. It had nothing to do with you spreading the truth. Why even monetize it if you felt so strongly about these COVID-19 shots? Why monetize that? Just like with everything she's talking about with Charlie Kirk. Why are you sitting here more concerned about getting out your sponsors and worried about the views and all the supers you're getting in your YouTube live streams? Why are you worried about any of that if you're truly concerned about how your friend died? So when you file a defamation lawsuit against someone, you don't have any idea what the hell you're doing. And then you try to lie and say Delaware has no jurisdiction over any case you file or that's filed against you when you have an LLC registered in Delaware. It's the other way around. They don't have any jurisdiction. When you file it, how dare they keep me from making money? You can't make this stuff up. The judge also ruled that Owens failed to adequately plead that the defendants improperly or wrongfully interfered with the performance of the contract between her and Facebook. Candace, do you have a contract with Facebook? Because you're talking about a breach of contract somehow, or something dealing with contractual relations, intentional interference with contractual relations. Did you have a contract with Facebook? And I mean a contract between you and Facebook in your personal capacity, or a contract with Candace Owens LLC and Facebook? Because I highly doubt you had a contract with them. If you couldn't even prove that there was some level of interference with the performance, I highly doubt you could prove you actually had a contract. So yeah, she improperly or wrongfully interfered. She couldn't adequately plead it. She could not prove it. So for those who want to sit here and talk about, oh, Candace Owens has a chance of winning. Candace Owens has been down this road before, where she was the petitioner and she sued USA Today or Lead Stories LLC. Let's go back. Here's the lawsuit filing. Case number S is in Sam 20, C is in Candace -10-016, C is in Candace, A is in Apple, K is in Kite. Candace Owens, in her individual capacity, and Candace Owens LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, against Lead Stories LLC, a Colorado limited liability company. Their LLC is registered in the state of Colorado, Candace. And Gannett Satellite Information Network LLC, DBA, doing business as USA Today, a Delaware LLC. And then this was submitted June 11, 2021, decided July 20, 2021. It was like, what? A good month? Candace, they said bye, girl. Bye, Felicia. You can't make this up. Yeah, no, you failed to show malice. You failed to state a claim. You failed to do a lot of things. You failed to state a claim under Delaware Superior Court rule. This case is dismissed. Goodbye, Felicia. Bye, Felicia. Y'all, you can't make this up. So Candace, come to the front of the church. How in the world do you really think you're going to win this lawsuit against the Macrons, where they have tried to correct the record with you? It does not involve any breach of contract with anything. They're not running around here talking about she's keeping us from generating revenue with our post. No, they're saying you are saying that someone was physiologically born a different gender, had some sort of sex change, and you have zero scientific evidence to prove that. You can't get their medical records because they have the right to privacy. And if they do produce scientific evidence, it will be their choice. It will not be something that a judge in a civil proceeding would order them to do. They didn't even have to give you a one-on-one interview, girl. And that's what you wanted. You're the one that said in videos, I just sent them some questions to do a simple yes or no. That would have been adequate. No, it wouldn't. Because you can't handle rejection. You were rejected by Charlie Kirk. I believe she fell in love with the boy and he didn't want her. But how can you even bear this nonsense when this is how she acts? Candace, you lost your lawsuit. You couldn't even state a claim. You couldn't prove malice. And the court considers you to be a public figure as well. So you would have to prove malice, just like you're expected to prove malice against the Macrons. Now do you all see why she's trying to get a dismissal? To all the Candace Owens, we got to come up with a word. Like all the supporters of Umar, we call them Umar Tardians. We gotta come up with a word to describe, the cult following of Candace Owens. Give me something here. The Candicidians. Ooh, that's a good one. Candicidians. What do y'all think about that? I used to trust her. I know. A lot of people did. Don't you know they are sick of her big mouth? Laura. Shout out to you, Laura. How you doing, my fantastic mods up in here? Thank you all so much for tuning in. Yeah, people are getting sick of her. The Candicidians. Candy asses. The candy asses. Y'all, you heard it first from my fantastic mod. Candy asses it is. So to all the candy asses out there, explain to me. Explain to me why she would go on Tucker Carlson and say that she's not seeking a dismissal and then turn around and file a motion to dismiss with a brief plus an extension granted to extend the term and page limit. She's been through this before with the Superior Court of Delaware when it comes to a defamation lawsuit in particular, because she filed this lawsuit against USAA Today. She filed this. She was the petitioner in this matter. So explain to me how all of a sudden now she doesn't know how court works. She doesn't understand these things, but yet she was the petitioner in this case. She was the petitioner here. Now she doesn't know how court works, but she goes on Tucker Carlson and says, I will not be seeking a dismissal. I want to get to the discovery phase. Yep. First thing she does, I'm filing a motion to dismiss. The candy asses will never know the difference. Now she's seeking a dismissal in the lawsuit with Macron. All of a sudden, she doesn't understand malice. All of a sudden, it's like, well, you have to have malice intent or something like that. Candace, you've been through this before. You were the petitioner. You had the burden. You had to meet that burden of a preponderance of the evidence with malice intent. You understand damn well how this goes. And you, Candace Owens, failed to simply state a claim under Delaware Superior Court Civil Rule 12B6. So I'm not going to let you forget that you filed this lawsuit, because this is proof that you understand what the hell is going on. And it's proof that you're misleading all these candy asses out here because you want them to think somehow you're stupid when it comes to these things. No, you're not. You can play stupid all day. But Candace Owens, you're not getting that shit past me here in the Lady Luck Club. I just want some evidence for you to produce to show or prove anything along the lines of our U.S. military being involved in the death of Charlie Kirk. That's it. Because I already know you're going to lose that Macron case because you have lost before and you were the petitioner. Yeah. This is a previous case. This is where we are, people. This just happened in 2021. Now you all want to sit here and put Candace Owens on a pedestal while she lies to you all to your faces and says, I don't know and understand these things, when she was the petitioner in that matter and she lost. Y'all want to still go on this talking about Candace Owens is presenting the facts and she knows what she's doing. Y'all already know what she's going to try to say when she goes to court. She's going to pull one of those Cardi B moments. I was pregnant. It was the baby. It wasn't me. She already did a video clip, a YouTube short on it. She's already preparing her bullshit excuses. Candace, the judge is not trying to hear any of that nonsense. And I'm going to tag the Delaware court into this. I'm going to tag the Macrons into this. I'm going to tag the Macron's attorney in this. And I'm going to tag the judge so they can see this video and see this prior case where you lost and you do understand how these defamation lawsuits work in the state of Delaware, where they do have jurisdiction over the defamation lawsuit from the Macrons, and where you do understand what it means to file a motion to dismiss. Because lead stories filed one against you in this case. And their motion to dismiss was granted. It was granted, people. The defendant, USA Today, filed the motion to dismiss, and their motion to dismiss was granted because she failed to state a claim. She failed to prove malice. Candace, don't come for the queen, girl. Or your candy asses. The candy asses should tread carefully. Because unlike Candace Owens, we read up in here in the Lady Luck Club. All right? Thank you all so much for tuning in. That's all I have for this evening. I appreciate all of you guys. I'm going to chop this video up and probably 3 good pieces. But this has been a lot of fun. And, you know, seeing that we know now a little bit more backstory on Candace Owens, hopefully people will actually start paying attention if they truly care about the information that they're divulging into, you know, because her attorneys want to pretend like, you know, they don't know anything. And act like there's no case law to show previous cases of Candace Owens filing, you know, defamation lawsuits, and she lost like hell. So the fact that they're trying the same method, but they're talking about, oh, you know, this is a libel tourism and they don't have jurisdiction. This case right here proves that they do. She didn't go and take this to a different court in a different state. She filed it in Delaware, where her LLC is registered. She filed it in Delaware, where Satellite Information Network, USA Today, is registered as well. And you can file it based on where the defendant has their LLC registered or where they reside. So Candace told on herself in this lawsuit here back in 2020. Candace, you got to do better. To the candy asses out there, reading is fundamental. Stop listening to everything Candace Owens is telling you and learn to read yourself. Read. And Candace, you need to tell people how you're vetting those tips you're getting in. It's getting out of control. All right, y'all. That's all I got. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to have a watch party. And we're finally going to get to Nature Boy. You know, to break it all up between Umar and Candace Owens. They, you know, it's like they're tag teaming on us. But we're going to break some of that monotony up and get some Nature Boy and Carbonation in tomorrow. Watch party. We're doing 3 episodes. So y'all make sure y'all tune in tomorrow. And I appreciate all of you all so much. Hit the like button on the way out. Share the videos. And until the next one. Lady Luck Club out. Deuces.